So it's a bit hard to go after VR in video games to talk about the static site engine.
We use the same template.
That's amazing. Design. So it's one called Gutenberg, that's one I'm writing. And the tagline is everything you need for static sites in one binary. So just roughly the outline is first, what are static site engines? Because there's a few people that are not technical. So I don't know, I guess some people don't know what they are, so I just explain it quickly. Then what Gutenberg offers, and just have a quick look inside the tech side. So the tech side is going to be very short, so if you want to ask more questions, feel free to talk to me after. So first, what's a static site? So like most of the sites you're seeing on the web is probably some kind of WordPress where you just have an admin and you write some WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get editor. And there's a database at the back, but a static site is the kind of simpler approach where you just have some text files, usually written in Markdown, and you have a tool that processes them and converts them into HTML or XML or whatever. And that has quite a lot of advantages. So the first one is obviously very easy to use, to host, because you don't have servers, you don't have database, you just have a bunch of HTML files that you want to put somewhere, and clients can just request it directly. So you don't have to do anything about that. So it's super easy. Second, it's fast and scalable. So you can, first, the fast aspect, it's just HTML files. And you can cache them. So for example, if you're using Amazon S3 or Cloudflare, your bill is going to be what, 1 cent a month or something, and it's going to be available for tens of thousands of views without any issue, and you don't have to do anything. There's no administration whatsoever. And scalable because there's no issue. If you have 10 page, 100 page, 1,000 page, it's still going to work, and it's still going to be as fast. It's not getting worse and worse as you get more pages. So you can have, I don't know, if you have a website that have 100,000 pages in a database, it might not be very fast, but it will be the same speed. It's just instant, basically. You don't have to do anything. And everything can be versioned. So when you're working with a team or a few other people, you want to be able to just look at the changes history. So you want to see, like, okay, someone wrote this article, then this person edited these parts, this person fixed some typo, and you can see all of that. If you're using WordPress or any other tools, you will just have the current article. Sometimes you have a revision history, but it's not as easy as just having it on your laptop or anywhere else, or it's just much easier. So, there's plenty of existing tools. The one that popularized the concept was called Jekyll. So it's the thing that is still used for GitHub pages. So if you see a site hosted on GitHub pages, there's a big chance that it's actually running Jekyll in the backend. So if you're just looking at a project hosted on GitHub, that's probably going to be GitHub pages. And then there's a bunch of tools that were created in each language. So there's Pelican in Python, Exo and Metalsmith in Node. Sphinx is a tool to write documentation for Python, but there's pretty much for every language, because it's a nice project to start learning a language, I guess. Just something that you can use directly, because most of people might have a blog, and they can just use that for their blog. And I guess the latest one, the most used one now, is called Go, which is written in Go, which means that you get a single binary. So you can just download the equivalent of an exe or on Windows, or I don't know, on Mac what it is. But you don't have to download anything else. You just have a single binary, and you get all the features directly there. So you don't have to set up virtualenv in Python or some install Node or Node.js for the others, or I don't know what they use for Ruby. But everything works immediately, so you don't have to fiddle with anything, which is very good if you're helping someone that doesn't know what the terminal is. You can just show her, okay, you tap this one, but you don't have to set up Node.js, you don't have to set up Go or anything. It just works if you have someone to show you, because if you don't know terminal, it's going to be a bit hard. So why another? So a few reasons. I make a lot of sites with the Go. I had my own blog, I had my company sites, I had my company blog, I have my product site, I have my product blog, I have my girlfriend's portfolio, everything done in Go, which is okay, but every time I use it, it's just, I can't remember anything anymore. And just the commands to create a new site is already super obscure somehow. I don't know how to manage that. And the worst part is the Go template engine is just horrible. You might as well just write regex or something. It's just terrible. And for those that don't know, template engine is you just give a bunch of variables and it will output the HTML. So the idea is that I can show maybe a bit later, but it's terrible. And if you were using syntax highlighting, so if you want to have code showing in your site, Go was very slow at the time because it was using pigments, which is written in Python, which is not very fast. So my blog had maybe 25 pages and it was doing 20 seconds for clean builds, which is just not nice. But now in the last version released this week, it's fixed because they wrote a tool in Go instead of using pigments, so it's much faster. And I'm using something called Sass to generate my style sheets. So it's just, think of it as a super syntax over CSS. So it just allows you to use variables and other things in your CSS to make it easier to write, maintainable, and just basically you can split your CSS in a few files, so you don't have to put everything in one file or anything. It just works. So, yeah, and it was also to learn the language, as we will see later. So first, what features does it have? So it has shortcuts. Is anyone using WordPress here? Okay. So the idea is just 4 shortcuts. For example, you want to embed a YouTube video. You don't want to have to write the HTML every time, because in Markdown you would have to write the iframe embedding every time. So the idea is that you can just have some kind of a function that you call that will automatically transform it into the iframe. So when you call this one in Gutenberg, for example, it will just change it into a div with an iframe embedded inside. So that's just working, making it much easier to make nice templates. For example, the one I'm using in Go for portfolio is just when I want to have some pictures like pop up a bit more. They have a special shortcut so they can just pop out of a blog content, which you could do in just embedding the HTML every time. But if you want to change it at some point, you need to update all your contents instead of just one place in the template. So automatic header anchor insertion is just a nice way to say that it automatically adds an ID to your headers, so you can reference them easily later if you want to put a link to it. And yeah, basically we just augment the markdown so you can refer to local contents. So this thing is actually a file, so it's not going to work if it's a real link. So Gutenberg is just going to replace that to be a link for that particular page automatically. So yeah, basically everything is built in. So it has syntax highlighting, it has Sass compilation built in, it has table of contents, and obviously pagination, tags, categories, and everything else, live reload, anything. So the insights, it's written in Rust. So that was actually the project I wanted to do when I was learning Rust. So now it's about 5,000 lines, so it's still not too big, but it's okay. So it's Rust is a language started by Mozilla. So it was started originally to replace some parts of Firefox, which Firefox had some vulnerabilities because they're using C or C++ in some parts, and they wanted to just make it safer. So the mission was to create a language that is as good as that, but safer. So it's sold as a system language, so that means you can write operating system or drivers or anything else. And it's as low level as C if you want. So you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. There's no speed issue. It supports many platforms, so by default they have a list of platforms they support, and Mac, Linux, Windows are always supported, but you can also compile for iOS, Android, some microcontroller, so it's not limited to one OS, and you can do it that easily, as we will see later, and it's very fast. Like, if you don't try to make it fast, it's just still going to be beating all the code you're going to write in Python or Ruby or JavaScript without any trouble. So how does it help with Gutenberg? So one thing I didn't really mention before, but you can easily do bindings to C libraries. So in that case, I'm using libsass, which is the C++ implementation for Sass. And what I'm doing is I'm just compiling this libsass statically, which means that libsass is going to be integrated into my binary. And I'm generating automatically an interface to call all the functions present in that library in Rust. And that's done automatically. So if you want to see the source, it's this one. But that's how it looks. So that's how Rust looks. So what we just say is like, we point to the header because libsass is a C++ library, but it offers a C API. So you can just point to the header, and you just generate the bindings, and you just write them to a file, and that just works. And you don't really have to do anything about it. It's just working directly. So yeah, one other thing they mention a lot in the site and about Rust is about fearless concurrency. So if anyone has tried to do parallel programming, they know that it's kind of hard to get all the data arrays, locking and everything correctly. So a Rust type system is pretty good with that, so it allows you to save. Basically, if you have an error that would result in a data race, it will fail at compile time, so you cannot have runtime data race. And the package that everyone uses for parallelism is called Rayon. So it's just an easy way to make parallelism. And that's how it looks. So this one is actually code from Gutenberg, where I'm just generating the markdown for each page in parallel. So the only thing I'm doing, so if you remove that, it's basically normal Rust code without any kind of parallelism, and Rayon just adds this one. And now this is run in parallel, and this it only runs in parallel if this code there cannot have a data race, which in this case it cannot because it's just how it is. But if I was trying to edit, for example, self there, it would just error at compile time, so there's no way you can have some kind of data race or anything like that. If you want to share, you still need to have some blocking mechanism, but that's no, you can't escape that. Okay, so cross compilation. So it's super easy to compile for any kind of OS, basically. So I'm using Travis CI to build Linux and OS and Mac OS, and Advair for Windows. And when it builds the binaries, it just push them to GitHub release pages. So I don't actually build anything on my laptop for the release version. So, and as I said before, it's super fast. Like, it's generating 1,000 pages in 1.9 seconds. And I haven't done any work for speed at all, almost. I just made it parallel so far, but keep in mind it's running on my 4-year-old laptop, so it's probably much faster if you have more threads.
So you have a site with 1,000 pages?
No, it's just a bench.
Oh, okay.
I have sites with 10,000, but it takes some time. It's a bit, and plus, not that many people run. Like, on my blog, it has 45 pages with syntax highlighting, and it does in 100 milliseconds, something like that. And the live reload is below 1 millisecond, so it just doesn't appear. So yeah, I just added the link because I realized I didn't put the link at all. So yeah, it's available on this URL. Any question? I went a bit fast because we were a bit late. Yeah.
Yeah. The template engine, is it extensible?
Yes. So it's based on Jinja, and but it's basically a mix of Jinja, Django, template engine, and a bit of Liquid for the white space handling. It's very good. I'm not saying that because I wrote it, but it's very good.
It's basically perfect.
Almost. Like the next version is perfect.
Are you thinking of new features in the future, or you're mostly
So the next feature I think is internationalization, but I'm not that interested into making it myself. So if someone wants to do it, they can do it. This shouldn't be too hard.
I would just say that internationalization is the reason that we didn't use a static site generator on
It's an issue for some people. It's just it's not too hard to make. So it's just you want people to agree on how it looks. So if you look at the repo, there's a pull request which is a RFC for that. I'm just waiting for comments. I mean, I could implement it, but it's waiting for comments. Yeah. Cool.
So you're fully converted from Go now?
Yeah. I don't see a point to go anymore.
Oh.
It's just, yeah. I mean, I've used Go before, but it's just, like, we had so many issues with data arrays when I was working on, in London, when I was living in London, I was working on some kind of scraper in Go, and pretty much all the issues were data arrays, which sometimes appear like after 2 days of running it live, and it's very hard to debug. Now they added GoVet, I think it's one for, but yeah, I just don't see an issue.
Is that the same as race conditions?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Data race?
Yeah,
Race conditions.
just trying to access the same resource at the same time.
Right.
But yeah, we can talk about it. But Go is just...
Thank you very much.
Cool.